From London, this is the Standard Podcast, and I'm Mark Blunden. The father of Stephen Lawrence has spoken of his son's legacy and the family's enduring heartbreak ahead of what would have been the teenager's 50th birthday. Stephen, a black 18-year-old aspiring architect, was stabbed to death in a racist attack by a group of young white men in April 1993 in Eltham, South London. Evening Standard crime correspondent Anthony France has interviewed Dr Neville Lawrence, who told him the world was robbed of a special young man who loved people for who they are, as he told of his son's hope to design the capital's future skyscrapers. The bungled Metropolitan Police investigation into Stephen Lawrence's killing was hampered by institutional racism, incompetence and alleged corruption. Only two of his killers, Gary Dobson and David Norris, have ever been brought to justice. Now we're joined by Anthony France. How was Neville Lawrence, and what did he tell you about any plans to mark this incredibly sad day for the family?
Well, of course, on Friday will be a very sad occasion for the Lawrence family because had Stephen lived, it would have been his 50th birthday, which by any individual is a huge milestone. When I spoke to Neville, who lives in Jamaica, he was very reflective, really, of what could have been, as he put it. Stephen dreamed of being an architect, and what his dad was saying to me, certainly what has been lost and his real heartbreak is that he could have fulfilled a lifetime dream of seeing skyscrapers on London's skyline bearing the Lawrence name, possibly even seeing his son getting married or having his own grandchildren. It's a very sad day for the family. I know that Doreen Lawrence and the foundation that was set up in Stephen's name were planning a concert at the O2, but that has been cancelled due to unforeseen circumstances. So there is no plans for anything officially, but the family almost certainly will spend Friday in quiet reflection.
What did Neville Lawrence tell you about his son's hopes for designing London buildings?
So when I spoke to Mr. Lawrence, who's now 82, he said that he himself had wanted to be an architect, but his parents didn't have enough money to send him to university. So if you like, Stephen was fulfilling that dream once that he decided that that was something that he wanted to do. And he told me that he was hoping by now that he would see some of the buildings while he's walking along the Thames were the ones that had been built by Stephen. And he actually said perhaps he might be stood there and he'd overhear people say, "That's a Stephen Lawrence Tower."
You've been reporting on this case for many years. What's the latest in terms of the police investigation? Are there still active lines of inquiry?
Yes, well, there's a very active line of inquiry that was actually uncovered by the BBC earlier this year. And it just shows that the original investigation, how badly bungled that was. Now, the BBC identified a sixth suspect, a guy called Matthew White, who died in 2001, and he was age 50. And the BBC uncovered multiple failings that the police at the time didn't investigate him properly before he died. Now, what's happened in terms of the investigation at the moment, although there is no active murder investigation, an independent police force is now reviewing the Met's handling of that new evidence in the case. And this is something that the London Mayor Sadiq Khan is pushing for.
What's your view on what's changed in terms of policing and officers' attitudes to race since Stephen Lawrence's murder 31 years ago?
I think there's been a lot of work in terms of the Met, which obviously is the UK's biggest force, to change attitudes. So where Stephen Lawrence's murder was hampered in the early days was pretty much the attitude that, you know, he must have been up to something. And I think that got into the mindset of people that perhaps his death wasn't important. And we've heard about allegations of corruption as well involved in the case. So I think there has been a lot of work in the police, but with every step forward, there are incidents involving a small number of individuals that bring the policing back. The Met are making huge strides when it comes to ridding its organisation of so-called bad apples, and that just continues at pace.
Let's go to the ads. Coming up, the Standard's junior fashion editor Joe Bromley on London Fashion Week 2024. We discuss the event's 40th anniversary and the brands and designers who are hot right now. Why not hit follow on this podcast in the meantime? Give us a rating. Welcome back. Now it's the 40th anniversary of London Fashion Week, with the world's biggest style brands showing their collections alongside the capital's hottest young designers. As the sun sets on summer 2024, we'll see a showcase of spring-summer 2025 collections at venues around London. To discover more, we're joined by Evening Standard junior fashion editor Joe Bromley. Joe, what's your view on the global significance of London Fashion Week?
September's come around, so London Fashion Week is back. It's the beginning today of 6 scheduled days, in which we'll see 72 on-schedule designers and 48 physical runway shows. So it is a big season, which is great because it's waned a bit since the pandemic, but it's really coming back stronger than ever. In terms of its importance, stats from the British Fashion Council show that the industry as a whole for the country is worth 28.9 billion. So it is a lot at stake here. And really what you get from London Fashion Week, it's the new ideas and it's the new designers, which will inform the way everyone dresses because the high street labels take their cues from the runway. And what London is known for best is its rising young talent and its sort of boundary breaking ideas. So hopefully we'll be seeing a lot of that this week.
Who are the big names and London's young designers? Who's hot right now?
The biggest names will be led by Burberry, which is on Monday at 4 p.m. But across the weekend, other sort of heavy hitters are Simone Rocha, there's Erdem, Amelia Wickstead, and then the sort of cool cards, hot young designers would be SS Daily, who actually this morning won the Queen Elizabeth II Design Award, which he was presented to by Sophie, Duchess of Edinburgh. So he'll be a hot one, as well as 16 Arlington, which is kind of the it girl party dress brand of choice at the moment.
Could you give us a flavour of the styles to expect? And what about fabrics?
16 Arlington is more, it's party wear, it's girls going out, but also he's branched into menswear. So it's big jumpers, Prada-esque pencil skirts, that kind of vibe. Harris Reed, who's showing tonight at the Tate Modern, is all about these red carpet moments. So they're these huge sculptural gowns. When it comes to fabrication, a lot of the sort of young designers on the schedule will be looking to use sort of dead stock fabrics, which are fabrics sort of offcuts from factories. And it's about sort of making them work for a collection. So Harris Reed is a great one for that. Last year, he used these offcuts from they were sort of like this posh wallpaper silk company. So they were crafted into these amazing gowns. And this year I can see in a backstage picture, it seems to be a sort of tablecloth lace type thing. And actually, when it is these younger designers often working on a shoestring, these fabrics, they can be donated or they can find, is often the lifeline. So it's instead of choice, it's more working with what you've got. And that's actually quite a lot to do with the London outlook when it comes to design.
And you've been writing about how to attend London Fashion Week, even if you don't have a ticket, where's toughest to get into, and any tips?
The biggest show will be Burberry. But the biggest event to get into, funnily enough, is tonight. Is actually an H&M party that they're doing in East London. But they're flying in Charlie XCX to perform. And obviously this comes at the end of what has been Charlie XCX's Brat Summer. And it's the last thing she does before she goes on tour with Troye Sivan for a long time. So everybody in London is vying to get in there. How you get in, I mean, H&M released some tickets. You can also try and blag the door. We've all done it. But you have to be prepared to go home in the cold should it fail.
And in terms of this season, what are the looks and colours we can expect to see around the capital?
Even though they're showing the spring-summer collections this year, we are entering autumn-winter 24. So we'll have to cast our minds back to last February's shows. And the sort of key trends then, it's this sort of office siren, pinstripe suits for everyone. That will keep you warm. The sort of key color last season was a sort of dark burgundy red, which came a lot from Gucci.
There's much more news and features in the Evening Standard newspaper and online at standard.co.uk. The Standard podcast is back on Friday at 4 p.m.